Greetings all and welcome back to another episode of Beats and Bobbins. My name is Evan Roth. Professionally, I'm a visual artist. I make a mix of work ranging from videos, photography, installation. I do paintings. Most recently, I've been doing a lot of sewing-based work, but this tutorial series is dedicated to the work that I'm doing here in the studio after hours, primarily related to DJing and sewing-related projects. So if you've been following the Beats and Bobbins tutorials, you might have noticed that it's been a little bit heavier on the beats than the bobbins lately, meaning I've been doing more DJing related tutorials than sewing related tutorials. And part of that has to do with the fact that during the day I've been doing so much sewing. So I've been working towards an exhibition that's going to open in October at the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art. I've been making this series of quilts that you can see behind me here. And so because I've been doing so much sewing during the daytime hours, in my after hours here with you all, this is why I've been focusing a bit more on DJing tutorials. And so this is what we're going to be focused on today, which is a MIDI mapping for Algorithms DJ Pro for Traktor's Z1 Mark II, which is a really simple modular mixer. This request came through a couple of times in comments that I received. So I'm going to give a quick demo of how I use Traktor's Z1 Mark II as a standalone little mini controller for Algorithms DJ Pro on the desktop.
Can you let me know right now, please? Bonita Applebum.
Bonita Applebum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, I said you gotta put me on.
Tick faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster. Dick Dastardly and Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. ICE Cole, nice to be old. Y2G Steve twice to threefold. He sold scrolls, low and behold. Know who's the illest ever, like the greatest story told. Keep your glory, gold and glitter. For half of his niggas to take him out the picture. The other half is rich and it don't mean shit to. Feeling a mixture between both with a twist of liquor. Chase it with more beer. Taste it like truth for dear. When he at the mic, it's like the place get like, oh yeah. It's like they know what's about to happen. Just keep your eye out like I capping.
This is how we do. We make a move and act the fool while we up in the club. This is how we do. Nobody do it like we do it, so show us some love. This is how we do. We make a move and act the fool while we up in the club. This is how we do. Nobody do it like we do it, so show us some love.
Fresh like, Impala, chrome hydraulics, 808 drums, you don't want none, nigga better run. When beef is on, I pop that drum, come get some, pistol grip, pump, if a nigga step on my white egg.
And I also included a related MIDI mapping to use the Z1 Mark II alongside two Traktor F1s, which is similar to a video that I showed previously, which had the Mixtour Pro in the middle. So I'll just give a really quick demo and show you what that looks like.
Now, top back, like it, in my seat. I'm on the mission, hit it down.
before I jump into the Z1 mapping tutorial, I wanted to just do a couple of quick housekeeping items. One is I've made an update to my Traktor F1 mapping for DJ Pro, which I know many of you have been using, which is really exciting for me. It's just a really small function I added, which is that now when you hold down what I'm using as Shift and a press button, this is a back navigation for when you're browsing the library. It's a really small thing, but it makes it a lot easier to use. So that's now updated. I'll put that link below. I've also added to my 5-panel hat tutorial, I've included a printed scale on each page so that after you've printed, you can check the scale of this with a ruler and make sure that no scaling issues happened in the printing process. So this feedback came from Judy Fox, who made this beautiful orange 5-panel hat. It's modeled here by artist Heidi Whitman. Big thanks for Judy for sending that in. I really love getting photos. Thanks to everybody who's been leaving comments. As I mentioned, the mapping for the Z1 I'm going to go over. This came directly from addressing some issues that came up in the comments. And the last thing I wanted to address before jumping into the tutorial was a comment on Beats and Bobbins episode 1, which was left by a user Ichigan511, which is a thoughtful comment that was kind of hitting at who these tutorials are sort of geared towards. And if I was going to summarize this comment, it had kind of 2 points, I think. One had to do with, is this setup that I'm kind of promoting that I like to use, this modular setup that has no jog wheels, is this, number one, kind of missing some of the fundamentals that beginner DJs need to do, like understand how to beat match? And then number two, if people are looking to getting into DJing with the goal of playing in clubs and having this be a profession, shouldn't they be learning the software that's going to be on all the standard club gear, which is Rekordbox, the software that runs on all the Pioneer professional club equipment? And so I thought it was a really good comment, and it's sort of a good chance for me to talk about who I think this tutorial series is for. And so my take on this is really connected to how much I feel like the DJing landscape has changed in the last 10 or 20 years. And a lot of that is technical, but a lot of those technical changes I think have led to some cultural shifts. And so, for example, I'm really inspired by how Elijah defines what DJing is. I'll play just a clip of that now.
What is a DJ? My definition is one, and this is 90% of the definition, a collector and creator of music for yourself. Number two, that, but for others. And I don't mean the public, I just mean for you, your friends, your family, people that you share playlists with, people that you share songs with. That is like 95%. And then the last 5% is thinking about public performance. So that's what I'd consider like the composition of DJing.
I'll link to Elijah's Instagram in the notes below the video, but I'm really thankful to new perspectives like this because I'm having so much fun doing what I now understand is DJing, but is previously wouldn't have fit what I thought DJing was. In fact, what I previously thought DJ was kind of a turnoff for me. And I think it kept me away for many years of having a kind of closer relationship with my music. And so all this is kind of a roundabout way of getting back to responding to Ichigan 511's point, which is that my feeling is like whatever hardware or software solution makes it fun for you to be DJing, this is what you should be doing, either as a beginner or as a professional. And I would even extend that to thinking about what songs you choose to play. Like I'd so much rather hear someone be choosing songs that they have a strong connection to, songs that they love, than someone who's playing songs that they think people will like or they think might get more people onto the dance floor. And so I like this idea that DJing should be for yourself primarily, and it should be fun. And so my main suggestion to people that are getting started and trying to figure out what systems to be using is just to go with what seems fun to you. And so the tutorials that I'm trying to share here and the tools and the techniques that I found that are fun for me, they're the ones that have been motivating me to spend more time DJing, but they're more focused on this definition of DJing that's closer to how Elijah's defining them than to maybe a more professional definition of what DJing is. And so in my art practice also, I commonly fall back on this idea of like following the motivation. Where's the motivation leading me? So here, both approaches I think are valid. I would just suggest following whatever solution makes you want to spend more time with your music. So now I'm going to walk you how to use my MIDI mapping for the Traktor Z1 Mark II. This mapping really came out of the fact that I had this mixer laying around the studio. I wasn't using it for anything except for as an audio interface to play the radio through. And I was trying to think of a way to come up with a mapping that would allow me to use this, that would give it some of the functionality that it's not really designed to have. This mixer wasn't designed to have any transport tools. So no play buttons, no sync buttons, no library navigation, no cue points. And so this mapping is trying to come up with a way to make this useful as a standalone mixer, which I don't recommend as your only device, but it could be really good, for example, as a travel DJ device, something that can fit in your bag really easily. And so I was trying to come up with a system for how could I use what I have here with, there aren't that many controls to be able to do all the primary functions that I need to do pretty often. And so let's jump into it. The first thing, I have this plugged in through USB and to audio out to the speakers. If you check in the software under MIDI and you go to configure Traktor Z1, put it in the standalone one. If you've loaded both of my MIDI mappings, you'll see one's for the F1s and one's for standalone. We'll make sure it's in standalone. So the first thing we need to do is to put the mixer into MIDI mode. So hold down the orange button and the shift button, then let go of the orange button, and you'll see that we're in MIDI mode now. I'm just going to move from the top down. You're not going to want to hit this button again, because once you hit that, you snap it out of MIDI mode and it's no longer useful. So that button, once you put it into MIDI mode, you leave that one alone. These two buttons I'm using for track loading and library navigation. So if you hit the button on the left, this is going to toggle the library. If you hold down the shift button, these now become left and right. So I can move up and down the library. I can navigate to a song. And when I find the song I want, I let go of the shift and I hit the right button. So without shift, this is toggle and this is load song. And if you hold shift, these are left and right. So this is kind of how I've dealt with how to do track navigation with very few buttons. Once you get used to it, it's actually not so bad. So this is how you navigate your songs. The middle column, nothing's changed. Your main volume, this is your headphone mix and your headphone volume. Nothing's changed there. Your gains, nothing's changed. These three knobs, which is usually low, mid, and high, I've just changed these over to stems. And so if stems on is going to look like this, and we've got vocals, instrumentals, and drums. So when it's playing like normally, you're going to want these all the way to the right. If I wanted to do just an acapella over here, it would look like this. Just a drum track over here would look like this. I just find that if I only can have stems or I can have EQs, I'd rather have the stems. So that's just me. So anyway, these are stem controls. Moving down, this button, which used to be the effects button, is now our play button. And it doubles as the sync. So if I hold down shift, this is going to toggle on and off the sync button now. Now this section, which was originally designed to be for effects controls, and this is going to sound crazy, these are now our hot cues. So this is hot cue 1 and 2 on deck A, and these are hot cues 1 and 2 on deck B. You can get to 3 and 4 by holding down shift. So then this would be 2.3 and 4 on deck A, 2.3 and 4 on deck B. It's not, I know you were all used to 8 cue points. I found that if I am forced to, this is all I've got to play on, I'd rather have these be cue points than anything else. And I can get pretty far with just even the 2 cue points. But with 4, I can get really far. Line faders are the same. Cross faders are the same. Headphone cueing is the same. This is just your high pass, low pass, which I didn't change. And so, yeah, we load tracks in here. Let's say here.
Low weed, low ecstasy. Low Remy with some low bitches.
Maybe I want to hear just vocals and drums over here. Maybe over here. And then we're already off going into the next.
She a team fan, groupies just like catching me. Think I'm over, she mine, she trying to get the best of me.
In a month, week, yeah. Couple days without smoke, yeah. Saw blunt, got weed, yeah. Broke the weed down, split the switch, so yeah. See something, little boys tend to spark a lot. Transformer drop buttons, transform the top.
And that's the basic functionality of this standalone unit. I think It's not an ideal setup, but if it's all you've got, this MIDI mapping for what I use, the way I DJ, allows me to get through most of what I need to be doing. Now, the other thing you can do with this is you can put 2 Traktor F1s along either side. And I have another MIDI mapping which you can load in under MIDI. Go to Traktor Z1 and change this to F1s. The only real difference is the knobs that in the standalone version are stems. Here I set them back to just high, medium, and low. Because you have stem axis already here, so you don't need them here. And then the only other thing I do is I have these set to, this is isolate vocals, you can toggle on and off that, and this is isolate drums, and you can toggle on and off that. Everything else, pretty straightforward, pretty similar. So I'll give a quick demo of how that works now. I'm gonna just load up a track. And if I wanted to isolate the vocals, or the drums,
1 for the trouble, 2 for the time. Come on.
Speech is my hammer, bang the world into shape, now let it fall. My restlessness is my nemesis. It's hard to really chill and sit still. Committed to page, I write around. Sometimes won't finish for days. Scrutinize my literature from the large to the miniature. I mathematically add, minister, subtract the wax selector, wheel it back, I'm feeling that. From the core to the perimeter, black, you know the motto. Stay fluid, even in staccato. That full-blooded, full throttle. Breathe deep inside the drum hollow. There's the hum, young man, where you from? Brooklyn #1.
So I'll put the links to download those MIDI mapping files in the notes below this video. But that's my basic setup for Traktor's Z1 Mark II as a standalone unit or with the F1s. With the F1s, I think it works great. As a standalone unit, it's given me a lot more use out of this device, which is kind of on its own so basic that you can't do too much with it. But with this mapping and with Algorithm DJ Pro, it becomes a sort of viable travel option. It's for me, it's fun. So give it a try. If you have questions, leave those in the comments below. I'm always happy to hear requests of what people are working on, what they'd like to see. And thanks for watching Beats and Bobbins. I'll be coming out with more episodes soon.